For many years, young people from Perth in the west of Australia have moved to the east, to the bigger cities like Sydney and Melbourne to find work. But recently, something has changed. People are coming back to Perth. There's more work, property prices are lower, and the population is growing.
There is a clear shift across Australia at the moment from the east to the west. There's been a complete turnaround between 2002 and 2004, and my view is that the trend has even improved further into 2005.
Western Australia is experiencing a population shift that hasn't happened for years.
The kick along in the resources industry at the moment is attracting people back from the eastern seaboard to the west. The net migration flow to Western Australia for the year ending June 2004 was 1,300 people. 2 years previous, in the year ending June 2002, it was a net outflow of more than 4,000 people.
For a long time, WA has said goodbye to people intent on moving to Sydney or Melbourne in search of better jobs, better pay, and a dose of the excitement and glitz a bigger city has to offer. Bernard Salt is one of the nation's leading demographers. He says many people were drawn to the bigger cities for work.
There was a major outshift from Western Australia soon after the economic collapse of the early 1990s. And right throughout the 1990s, there was a lure, if you like, of the eastern seaboard. This was as a consequence of a number of events and projects that were occurring in Melbourne and Sydney at that time. The issue is that all those events, projects and programs ended in 2001, and those residents of Western Australia made a value judgment that the quality of life was actually better in Western Australia or in Perth, and you had a backflow, if you like, starting out in around 2002, 2003. That has been augmented by the resources boom and job generation in the West, leading to quite a hyped level of activity in terms of jobs and population now flooding into Western Australia. Job generation occurs right across the board in Western Australia. It may well be led by the resources sector, if you like, by the miners out in the mines, but this has the effect of spinning off further demand for office workers down in Perth.
While all this bodes well for the state, Bernard Salt warns the increased population growth is unlikely to last forever, but he believes its slowing is at least a few years away.
I think Western Australia is on the thin end of a quite significant wave, if you like, of growth and development.
Perth is the capital of Western Australia. It's a long way from Sydney, but many young people move to Sydney because they want to live in a bigger city with more opportunities. Recently, people are starting to move back to Perth. Let's hear from an expert.
There's been a complete turnaround between 2002 and 2004, and my view is that the trend has even improved further into 2005.
There's been a complete turnaround between 2002 and 2004. A turnaround is a complete change in something that's changed to the complete opposite. The trend to move away from Perth has completely turned around. People have started coming back. Trend refers to the general direction in which something moves. He says that the trend has improved into 2005. He means that in 2005, even more people have decided to move to Perth. Let's have a closer look at how this trend has developed.
The net migration flow to Western Australia for the year ending June 2004 was 1,300 people. 2 years previous, in the year ending June 2002, it was a net outflow of more than 4,000 people.
The net migration flow to Western Australia was 1,300 people. Net means overall. It's the final number after everything else has been taken into account. Migration refers to the movement of people from one place to another. The net migration, or overall number of people who've moved to Western Australia in 2004, was 1,300. Listen again.
The net migration flow to Western Australia for the year ending June 2004 was 1,300 people. 2 years previous, in the year ending June 2002, it was a net outflow of more than 4,000 people.
2 years previous, 2 years before, there was a net outflow. Notice that he's measuring years from June. Normally we think of the year starting in January and ending in December. We call that a calendar year. But a year can include any 12 months. In this case, he's using the financial year, which in Australia goes from the 1st of July to the 30th of June. In the 2 years to June 2002, there was a net outflow of more than 4,000 people. Outflow refers to a flow out or a flow away from something. In 2002 and 2003, there were more than 4,000 people who moved away from Perth. But by 2004, that had turned around. 1,300 people moved to Perth. Why?
The quality of life was actually better in Western Australia or in Perth, and you had a backflow, if you like, starting out in around 2002, 2003. That has been augmented by the resources boom and job generation in the West.
People decided that the quality of life was better in Western Australia, so there was a backflow. Quality of life refers to the level of enjoyment and satisfaction a person has. Life in Perth is cheaper and easier than bigger cities, so there's been a backflow. Backflow means a flow back or a move back. People started coming back to Perth because there were new jobs and also because they liked living in Perth. And that's all for today. For more words and phrases, you can visit the English Bites website, and you'll find the popular daily English Bites quiz as well.